Alright guys, it's winter in Maine and I figured I would show you guys how I heat the house. Back in 2008 when oil went up to $4.60 a gallon here in Maine, we decided to buy a pellet stove. And what we ended up with after lots of research was the Quadrafire Mount Vernon. It is a cast iron stove, has the porcelain overlay. My wife really liked the look of the stove. It kind of has an old world look to it. I liked the way it operated. She did too. So we bought it. It's kind of an expensive stove. At the time we paid, I believe it was $3,200 for it. But it has saved us a lot of money over the years. At the time, we were using over 1,000 gallons of heating oil per year to heat the house. So that was costing between $3,000 and $4,500 a year to heat our house. With a pellet stove, I can heat for $1,000 or less per year. And this heats both the first floor and the second floor where our bedrooms are. Throws about 65,000 BTUs. It does have some distinct advantages over a wood stove. One is that it runs off from a thermostat, and you can set the temperature to what you want, whether it's 70 degrees or 75 or 65. The stove will produce that amount of heat. Whereas with a wood stove, you can somewhat control it with a damper, but it's kind of going to throw more heat sometimes in the shoulder seasons than what you want. Pellet stoves will not smolder. They just increase or decrease the amount of oxygen going into the stove, so you don't create creosote in your chimney. They can also be direct vented out, as you can see. Goes out through the wall and then up from there. I did get the air intake system. That's the small pipe below the exhaust pipe. So the Mount Vernon has a capacity of 82 pounds of pellets in the hopper. During the shoulder season, that will get us probably 3 or 3.5 days without filling. During the middle of the winter, like now, it'll probably do a day and a half, maybe close to 2 days. So you don't have to babysit it. There's no 2 a.m. stove fillings. Down below is the ash pan. Can't really see it very well, but it's there. Cleanings, you clean it once a week by just vacuuming out the fire chamber, scraping out the burn pot and vacuuming that. Takes about 5 minutes. Monthly cleanings, you take the baffle plate off, which is behind where the flame is, and that's where your heat exchangers are. You brush those off with a paintbrush, vacuum it out, again scrape the burn pot, vacuum out the fire chamber, and you're done in 20 minutes. Yearly, you go around to the side, pull off the, there's a panel here and a panel on the other side. I pull the exhaust motor, I pull the intake air motor, clean those, vacuum out inside of the chimney section, and I also pull the auger motor and clean that. And that's the yearly cleaning. And that probably takes between an hour and an hour and a half. Stove it's a heavy stove. I built a raised hearth pad for it. It's up about 4 inches. I tiled it, kind of give it a pretty look, I thought. They're relatively low maintenance. If something does go wrong, it's easy to find repair info on the internet. I recommend, unless you have experience installing pellet stoves, to have your pellet stove shop install it for you. But we have really enjoyed it. I like having a fire in the living room again. I like the heat. I like the cheapness of the heat. And this thing runs from October to mid-April 24/7. And this is the 6th or 7th year we've owned it. Very problem-free. I've had to replace a couple of igniters, which is not that big of a deal. And everything else has been very smooth. In fact, we liked it so much that we bought a second one to put in our basement. to heat the basement. Does a great job. I would highly recommend the Quadrafire Mount Vernon. Thanks for watching, guys.